Welcome to this postgame media edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. This is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. The Indiana Hoosiers improved their record to 4-4 on the season with a home midweek win over Butler Tuesday evening. The Hoosier Bats got off to a fast start with 5 straight hits, leading to 4 runs. Indiana again used 9 midweek pitchers effectively, easily defeating the Bulldogs 13-2. Carter Mathison went 3 for 3 with 2 doubles and a triple. The media met with head coach Jeff Mercer and Mathison after the game.
Success against Butler last year. Was the plan always to throw the 9 guys today?
Yeah. The plan was to staff it. We had a couple guys. We had Gabe Levy and a couple guys as kind of the fireman if we needed them, and obviously we ended up needing Levy there to come in and kind of finish it. We have enough depth now that we have to keep getting those guys in there and get those guys ready for the weekend. So yeah, that was the plan.
How much confidence do you have in Levy with his up and down start of the season?
Yeah, I have great confidence in Gabe. We're working through some different stuff, and it's cold in the beginning of the season. Even down south, it's been cold in his outing. So his velo is not quite where it's normally at, where we'd like it to be at, where he would like it to be at. And so we're kind of messing with some different stuff until it kind of warms up and he can get that old wing cranked up and kind of get the velo back, because he does need the velo to differentiate with the changeup. It makes the changeup a lot better in the cutter slider combo. And when he's 86, 87 instead of 88 to 91, the off speed isn't quite as good when the fastball's not as abrasive. So he'll be good. He can manage. He was the first guy out. He was the fireman today if we got in trouble. So he'll find his footing. He's been really good all year, and he'll be good again for us.
Has anything changed in the way of the fact that they're hitting the ball a lot harder and into the air today, as opposed to a lot of ground balls, which we've seen a lot of the season so far?
Yeah, yes and no. I'll be frank. We've faced really good pitching staffs. This past weekend the mound was really big, so I have no idea if the mound being so tall had something to do just kind of the approach angle. I know that sounds really silly, but kind of like you probably, I was kind of scratching my head. Like, I've never seen us hit like weak, soft ground balls to the corners like we did all this past weekend. And then today we were back in the air like we normally are. So I don't know if it was a fluke deal this past weekend or if it was something with the mound being so big, or I don't know. They had good pitching, and they did a good job, Texas, this past weekend of cross-firing lefties into righties and righties into lefties, which is a bit unique. Maybe it was just a weird weekend. Maybe it was something to do with the mound being so big. I don't know, but it was good to see. Regardless, it was good to see us kind of right back on it. And I kind of talked to the coaches this past week. It's like, hey, if we don't see a difference, maybe we need to change the training environment a little bit to make some adjustments. And then we came out and hit 4 doubles in the first inning, and it was like, okay, I think we're okay. Kind of stay where we're at. So that's a great question. I don't have a great answer besides, I wonder if the approach angle kind of made things a little bit different for the guys at contact point.
With Mathison starting out with the 3 hits, 2 doubles, and a triple, were you going to try to let him go a little bit there to maybe try to get that single and home run, and after those 2 plate appearances, that's when you decided to?
No, once he either fouled a ball off his foot or he got hit in the foot and it was cold, and I kind of thought, hey, that's probably enough for tonight. You guys got 3 hits and quick turnaround, 3 flights in a row. Kind of wanted to give those guys a bit of a breather. We had first and second, nobody out, 3 straight innings, and hitting the 3 consecutive double plays, and so that kind of pushed my game plan back a little bit. But it was kind of always a plan. If we could get a comfortable lead, knowing we were really stacked at the back end, those last 4 guys were going to be tough to hit. I wanted to get those guys out if I could. We just didn't get where we needed to get to early enough to get him out earlier. We had a great night. He was awesome.
Did you guys see anything on tape that led to the stolen bases tonight?
Not terribly. It really was just kind of in the moment. A lot of those guys for them hadn't thrown a ton, and so early in the season, once they vacated the middle, we knew we could steal third, and then we spent a lot of time working to steal second base. So we felt confident being able to steal second. The big one is you're going to want to see how they in real time. How are you holding at second base? They were a lot looser. And they vacated early, and there was a big gap between the pitcher and the middle infielders vacating. So once that was, I kind of looked at Zach and gave him a thumbs up, and you could kind of turn it on. We know that we can work to steal second, but stealing third is a little bit more based on how they manage the middle of the field.
You had a lot of freshmen throwing pretty hard today.
Yeah.
Do you at this point see a real potential for them to kind of fit into the mix in key games?
Yeah, I would really like to, and we've talked about it, where you kind of build a bullpen that you can kind of get to the 5th or 6th and then bring stuff out of the pen. I think it's important to build them the right way, make sure they're in position to be successful, and then start to kind of throw them in the deep end a little bit as we go. And so you're kind of starting to see us stack the back end. If we were to get to the 5th, could we get those 4 or 5 guys up? Pretty much have them up every day. Are they up every day? And Kraft showed what we've seen in practice on Sunday, and that was good to kind of get him going. And you could see him as a back end guy. So, Yoho's really taken a major step forward. Foley was better with his off-speed stuff tonight. Reisdorf was good, and then Whitaker's got 2 real breaking balls, and the fastball's got really good life to it. So you could see those guys on a day-to-day basis. That is the ultimate plan we would like to have, is those guys on the back end where you can come in and throw real stuff, and then have Crafty to be able to kind of Crafty with the elevated sinker cutter combination makes guys make early decisions. Change up and curveball really good off of it, and he can go to both lefties and righties. But he's going to be uncomfortable for lefties predominantly, and having those guys would make us really formidable at the back end when they're ready.
A question from over the weekend with the pitching staff, with Seiler going 5 and at 62 pitches. What went into the decision to pull him in the 5th there with that pitch count? And is that something you're trying to build up towards maybe him going against East Carolina?
Yeah. He's. It really is just like, are the pitches labored? 62, and kind of where's he at as far as like his cardiovascular conditioning? And he was just kind of at a point where it's like he's done, right? We would like to get him up to that 80 to 90 plus pitches, but at the same time, when you're physically fatigued, that's where obviously, as you guys know, injuries happen, and then you have a really good offense like Texas, where all of a sudden he has this great outing, and then it's like, hey, one more, let's get you to 80, and he's not quite as sharp, and all of a sudden he gives up 3 runs, and you kind of ruin a really good outing. So yeah, we would like to build him back up or continue to build him up, but also at the same time not overextending him, because we feel like we have the depth in the pen if we keep building them and keep getting the right guys in the right spots, to not have to overexert guys, and being a long season and make sure those guys are really good as you get into Big Ten play in that last month or 6 weeks. And so just being cautious with it.
Take 1 or 2 more. Does anybody have anything about the weekend at all? If not,
is rotation going to change at all the weekend now that you're in a showcase situation where you're playing 3 different teams? Are you going to change them to more matchup based, or is it going to be the same?
It's an awesome question. We talked about it for about an hour this morning. Yes, potentially. It's really, the question is what do you do with Senard? Right? You're still flexible enough to be able to go Saturday or Sunday for him, and probably keep Ben on Friday. I like Ben on Friday. He's an adult. He's a professional. He's a game manager. He sets the tone for the weekend. And we kind of made the comparison a lot like Tommy Summer, right? A lot like Tommy, where big lefty as an adult is a tough matchup, and the first guy through the wall sets the tone. So does a good job with that. Senard could go Saturday or Sunday, and so we're actually still working our way through that. So yes, we could see a change in the rotation to kind of match up for teams. If we were to go Steady on the weekend, Steady's a West Coast guy, so a little bit more familiar with some of that West Coast style of play that I'm sure Long Beach will be really good at.
Anything else?
9 extra base hits today. A little bit less in that department over the weekend. Texas, just what do you think the Hoosiers were doing better today and sort of driving the ball?
It's an awesome question. I don't necessarily know. I mean, there wasn't a huge shift. We didn't necessarily do much different. The first 2 days at Texas, the wind's blowing in, so some of those balls were, Josh Pine hammers a ball to left center, gets pulled off the wall. There were a couple balls that were hit decent, kind of a slow track and the wind blowing in, so that part of it. But yeah, it was abnormal the way that we hit the ball this weekend. So I wish I had a better answer. I know that stinks, but I don't have a great grasp of it. But yeah, it was really nice to see. I kind of took a deep breath kind of early on. It was like, bang, okay, there we are. That's the offense we're all kind of accustomed to, and we don't have to go in and make an adjustment. I feel good about where we are offensively. We're going to hit. I don't worry about that. But it's the first 2 or 3 weeks, and you're still finding the lineup, guys just start kind of finding their stride a little bit, and yeah, it was a good day.
Last one to Carl.
Pete Ceruto had a phenomenal game Sunday.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the work that he's done and what I mean, was just all around, just a great game.
Yeah, he is a consummate professional, and you know, on the midweeks when you're trying to get all the different young bats in there and move guys around, but the big thing that I take as a compliment to Pete is Pete doesn't take his offense to defense. He's actually swinging the bat pretty well for us, but he just continues to improve. And for example, he hasn't thrown great in the kind of the 3 or 4 weeks leading up into the season, and he's been working on just make sure he stays more stacked. His trunk doesn't go over his front side, and he's able to drive the ball to the base. And so we were working on it all the way up until Friday and Saturday. Just obviously knowing Texas is aggressive on the bases, and the teams we're going to play coming up are going to be aggressive on the bases. And he worked, and obviously the dividends showed where they continued to challenge him, and he continued to step up and really won the game for us on the stretch. They ran into 4 outs there in the last 2 or 3 innings, and he was able to throw a shutout there down the stretch with all those guys. So he works so really hard. He's very invested into being. We've talked a ton about being at 6 runs or less. When we give up 6 runs or less, we're winning 65 or 70% of our games over the last year and a half. So just really investing into that, and we've been more in that 3 to 4 range consistently. And our catching is a huge part of that. Our throwing has been a big part of that. Our catchers have thrown so much better. We've held runners so much better. We've given them a chance. So for Pete to have a chance to do those things, it really starts on the mound. Are we doing what we have to do on the mound to be able to give him a chance? And then Pete has to keep working to improve like he has, and then it shows up in the game. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because oftentimes, you as a coach, you see all the work that guys are putting in behind. Pete's throwing and throwing and throwing, and sometimes it doesn't show up in the game, and all of a sudden, boom, it showed up, and it's a huge win, right? That's a huge win to beat a team that went to the World Series on the road after losing really close games like that. To kind of break through for those guys was big, and Pete was a main driving force behind that.
So obviously you were seeing the ball really well today, and you had some struggles so far up to the season. What was there something different in your mindset today? What was really different about being able to swing the bat today?
Yeah, I would say just not worrying about much. The struggles lately, whatever that happened, but just staying through the middle of the field, staying on the inside of the ball is the main thing I focused on today.
You hit both sides of the field today as well. Just sort of what was going through your approach in that.
Just stay through the middle of the field, react to where the ball was. Lately I've been pulling off a bit too much and more than I want to, so just staying through the middle of the field has been the main thing.
How great was it to see some extra base hits today?
Felt great. Needed it.
You guys have all been pretty aggressive, especially today on the base paths, and you legged you stretched that double out into a triple. What was going through your mind? What were you seeing when you made the decision to head to third?
I looked at Sim. I was rounding first, checked Sim to see where he wanted me to go, and I saw him rounding me, so I took off.
After the offense had such a big night, Mercer was saying that he gave you a little bit of rest as the game was sort of closing out. 2 doubles and a triple. Were at any point were you thinking cycle in the back of your mind?
No. Whatever happens, happens. If I hit the cycle, cool, but it wasn't in my mind.
How great is it to feel like your pitchers are kind of relieving a lot of pressure on you guys as hitters with how great they performed the last couple of games? How much does that kind of take off your guys' back, your approach?
Yeah, a lot. The pitchers are doing excellent. They're keeping us in games when, we're personally struggling. We haven't had our best games, but they keep showing up to play, and they're doing very well.
Then on the flip side of that, how great does it feel to give a pitcher a 4-run lead heading into the second inning?
Awesome. Anything we can do to help them out. They've been performing well for us, like I said, so anything we can do on the offensive side to make it easier on them, we try to do.
Anything else?
What were sort of the moments like? It was just kind of like a continuous hit train with everyone hitting, and you were sort of one of the last guys to join that. What was it like seeing the guys coming in from the dugout and sort of that energy surrounding the team to get an early lead?
Yeah, it's a main thing of us, get on teams early, put them away early, and we try to say, once one guy gets a hit, keep it rolling, just pass it on to the next is a big thing.
What are you taking away from today into your upcoming weekend series?
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend, playing some good competition, so just continuing to do what we're doing, keep the offensive offensive side rolling and pitchers doing what they're doing.
The Hoosiers next travel to the Keith LeClaire Classic in Greenville, North Carolina, where they will face host East Carolina on Friday at 4:30 p.m. They will face Georgetown at noon Saturday and Long Beach State at 11:30 a.m. Sunday. Go to iubase.com for the latest on Hoosier Baseball. See you at the BART.